Hello, I'm Microsoft MVP Tom Morgan, and today I want to show you how I'm going to build a Microsoft Teams presence bot that you can use in Amazon Alexa. I've got a blog post. I've got an Alexa on my desk who's just like pinged up, so I need to be quite careful about not saying that keyword so much. So I've got a blog post that goes through exactly how this works. But I thought it would be useful as well to do a from nothing to completion video with code. Just follow me along as I write it. We might make mistakes along as we go because I don't have any notes, and I've only done it once in order to write up the blog post. So it could be interesting, but hopefully instructive as well. So let's start with the basic kind of design. I went through this in the blog post, but we're going to have a Bot Framework bot, and I'm going to be using one of the sample web app bots for this as a good place to begin. And then we're going to make it look at our presence, and then we're going to expose that in the Amazon device that I can't say anymore. Okay, let's start in Azure. I'm going to create a brand new resource group for this to keep everything kind of separate. And I'm just going to call it Teams Presence Demo. Let's just create that. And the next thing I'm going to create is a web app bot. So I'm going to go to that resource group and search for web app bot. I'm going to create one of these. And again, let's just call it Teams Presence Demo. We'll keep most of these things the same. Let's make it free. I'm going to use this here, the bot template. I'm going to use the aka.ms C# template. It's a really good jumping off point for making something quickly because it comes with all the kind of template code, boilerplate code to just kind of get something running that you can then layer on everything else you need. So I'm going to click create on that. That's going to take a little while to run. I'm going to try and keep this video as minimal in edits as I can. If I make mistakes, I kind of want you to see them, and we'll work through what that means and kind of how we resolve them. But I am going to cut out things that just take time. And this is one of them where just creating that web app instance takes 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm going to go away and get a drink, and I'm going to see you right about now. Hello again. So deployment succeeded. We can go to the resource for this web app bot. And the first thing we can do is go to the testing web chat section on the side, and we'll just send this bot a message and just make sure it's all working, it's all alive. Perfect. Fully functioning bot. We are ready to use this template, if you like, and we're just going to mess around with it a bit and make it our own. What we're really going to do is have this bot tell us what the presence is, and then we're going to layer on the Amazon stuff later. So if I go to the build tab, I can download all of this source code, and I can have it then running in my Visual Studio environment. So that sounds perfect. I'm going to include all the secrets and the keys. It just makes it easier to publish. Just be aware of that. If you do click that, you're going to get the app ID and the secret come down as well. I'm going to pause again because this bit takes a long time. So time lapse. And we're back in the room. And this is what I've downloaded. It's a kind of full project, all ready to go. And all I'm going to do is just open up the solution. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so there's a few things I can do at this point. I should probably make sure that it works okay on my local machine. So just right click and build. And that's also going to get down any NuGet references that the solution has that didn't come down with it, and it looks like it's ready to go. I'll just click play. This won't actually kick off the bot as such, but it means that we can use it with the Bot Framework Emulator. So let's bring up the Bot Framework Emulator as well. Okay, so this is what our code gives us, a nice page that says, hey, your bot's ready. If you want to use it, you should go to the emulator and use this URL. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to open the bot. We're going to put in our URL. I said the app ID and the password came down. One really important thing is if you do download the source code with the app ID and the password, if you're using the emulator, you have to make sure you put them in. So they live in app settings here. So I'm just going to walk off with the app ID here. in there, and the password as well. Click connect. Keep everything crossed. Hello and welcome. We say hello. Can't spell. And it echoes it back to us. Right, so nothing's changed, but we now have this same code running locally, which is great because it means we can make some changes. Now, if you've read my blog post, you'll know that actually getting presence out of Graph as an application is kind of tricky. And so what we need to do is run something on my local machine to catch my presence and write it up to table storage. That's what we're going to do. So I'm actually going to do that as a separate project that lives alongside this bot, because the bot is going to go up to Azure and live in the cloud, and the thing that grabs the presence is going to live locally on my machine, and we're going to tie everything together with some Azure table storage. So let's do that now. So let's create a new project. I'm just going to keep it as just a basic console app. I think just a .NET Framework console app, and we're just going to call it Get Presence Locally, and let's just create that. Okay, so we're going to do a few things in here to kind of make this useful. The first thing we want to do is connect to Graph and get my presence. Now, there's a few different ways of doing this. I'm going to use the Graph SDK because it makes things really easy. You can do the same. So to do this, you need to go to the Package Manager console and type install package, Microsoft.graph. It's a bit small, you probably can't see that, sorry. Okay, there we go. Install package Microsoft.graph. That will add the Graph SDK stuff to my project. I'm going to create a new class here just to handle just getting the presence. Just call it Get Presence from Graph. Make a new class. I'm going to give it a. This is probably not the best way of doing things, but I'm just going to create an initialize and a. Let's have a look. Let's return something called presence info and call it Get Presence. All right, so we don't have a presence info yet, so let's just make one of those. And this is going to return our actual presence info, and I'm not entirely sure what's going to be in here yet, but let's wait and see. So we need to do some authorization to Graph. There's a really good, let me show you. There's a really good web page. There's a couple of different pages here. I'll share the link down below. And there's a couple of different sections in this documentation about installing the SDK, which we've just covered, creating a client, and choosing an authentication provider to use. So we're going to go through some of this. When it comes to choosing an authentication provider, there's lots of different choices, and they give some great scenarios as well, so you can choose the one that's right for you. I'm going to use Interactive Provider because I think it makes sense for what I'm trying to do right now. And what's really nice is that I get all the kind of code I need right up front, so I can kind of quickly get going with it. So I'm just going to steal some of this code and kind of start there as a good way to get going. Right, so let's do this then. So we're going to do some initialization, which is going to do the kind of sign-in bit of, I've just pasted in that code that I copied. So let's sort out any things that we need. I wonder why it's not very happy with that. Let's have a look. Let's just see if we can do it using Microsoft Graph. We can't, so that's interesting. Oh, I can see why. So this install package I do this all the time actually. It was running in the Echo project, so I just need to flip the project over to the right project. I actually installed it into the wrong place. I don't think the Echo bot will care too much that it's got a reference to the Graph SDK. I could probably go back and take it off later, but I think it'll be fine. So adding a load of things into this project now. Perfect. Microsoft.graph. And this still isn't super happy, although this works. There is a Microsoft.graph.auth I kind of think I want to use. Let's have a quick look up here. And oh, I see. Okay, so under the install the SDK section, which I skimmed through, there's this package to install. There's optionally also this package, which includes all the kind of auth handlers and stuff. So I'm going to install this one as well, because I think, let's get rid of graph.core, we don't need that. I think that's the thing I need. Okay, I think that will mean I can do graph.auth, perfect. Okay, so that's looking good. Right, let's do some matching up of things here now. So, what else do we need? We probably need Microsoft.identity, client as well. That makes these happier. Right, we don't have a client ID at the moment. That's something we're going to go and fix in a minute. But for now, let me just pop in a string for it. And let's also create a graph service client. This is the thing we're actually going to use to get our presence. And it's the thing that we're going to initialize in this method here. So this is going to go and create the application. We have an authentication provider that we've stolen from that code sample. I'm going to take off scopes. We're just going to work out the scopes as we go from the permission set. I think that'll be all right. And then we need to do something with this graph client. So let's have a new graph service client using that authentication provider. Oh, sorry. No, that's the one I want, not that. There we go. Okay, that all looks good. There's something missing from here, which I've found sort of seems to make things easier, and that's specifying a redirect URI. Because what happens when this goes away and auths and comes back again, it provides a redirect URI. And I think probably you can configure the application to not need a redirect URI, but I find it easier just to specify one. I guess it's maybe slightly safer as well. I'm actually going to use the same as the client ID when we have the client ID because it's just a nice unique value I can use. So that's initialization for the presence setup. And then how do we actually get the presence? There's a couple of different ways. I think if you get the beta of the Graph SDK now, you can actually do this with IntelliSense and everything. But I've got the non-beta version, so it doesn't support natively getting the presence. But that doesn't really matter because you can actually call any old Graph API call as long as you know what the URL is. As long as you know what the URL is. So, okay, let's try and figure this out. So, what we need to do is let's go to graph.microsoft.com and then go to the API reference. And then let's go to beta and look down the list and we go to teamwork. And down here somewhere, we don't see presence. No, because it's under not teamwork at all. It's under cloud communications. Aha, presence, get presence. So this tells us everything we need to know about calling the presence API. It tells us exactly what the call should be, and it tells us that application permission is not supported, which we've already spoken about, and exactly what permissions we need. Permissions.read or permissions.read all. Okay, so I can use this bit here and use that to kind of build up the URL that we need. So what does that look like? Well, I'm calling graph.microsoft.com. I'm calling the beta endpoint, and then I'm doing that me/presence. So that's what I want to do. And I can do all of that as part of, he says, trying to type. I can't type and talk. I want an actual, that's what I want. An HTTP request message. Why doesn't it like me? Okay, fine. Okay. So let's have a new one of those, and it's going to be a get. And this is the URL we are providing. We need to run that through our graph client because that's going to be the thing that does the authentication. So let's do that. Graph client authentication provider, and then authenticate that request. And that is a waitable asynchronous one. So this whole thing needs to be asynchronous. Fine. And so now that we've done that, we can actually send that and get the response back. Let's just do... send that. And get the content back. Ooh, get the content back again. I'm just going to read the whole thing as a string. And then what I'm going to do is deserialize the, deserialize the JSON response of getting the presence into my presence object, which currently is empty, so it isn't going to work very well. But we'll sort that out in a minute. So graph client.htp provider, serializer. Deserialize object into a presence info object, and the thing that we're passing in is the content. Whoops. Fine, and then return presence. So we should go and do something with this presence info object because it's currently not got anything in it. Coming back here and looking at this, what gets returned by presence, we see it looks like this. It's got an ID in it, availability and activity. So I'm going to take this as an example. Let's flip back over here. Just dump this in here for a second because I'm just going to use that to kind of cheat really and just say there's an ID. It looks like a GUID. Let's do that. There's something called... basically the point is just getting the names of these right so that the serializer can deserialize it properly. So let's go for those again. So now we've got a decent looking object to get the presence info. We've got something that gets it from graph like this. Perfect. We've got something to initialize it and do the whole login prompt thing for us. We need to fill that in a minute. So that's all looking good. We've got something to get the presence. So let's try that out. So this is a console application. So it's got the main entry point here. Let's do something. Let's make a, what do they call this thing? Presence info. Let's make it here. Let's call that initialize. Oh, no, it wasn't called presence info. Sorry, it was called get presence from graph, wasn't it? There we go, that's better. Okay, let's call initialize. That'll do that whole login thing. Let's also get presence. Presence info dot. Oh, there's no. Why is then? Oh, call the two things the same stupidly. Get presence. Perfect. So if we do everything right, that's going to end up as a populated presence info object. Right, there's a few things we need to do before we can make this code run, mostly to do with setting up the application on the Azure side, because we haven't done that. We're making graph calls. but we need to do that as an application. We've got one for the bot, but rather than use that one, I think we're probably just going to create another one. I think we don't have to do that, but we might as well. Let's go to Azure Active Directory. Let's go to app registrations. Let's go to new registration. So we're going to call this get Tom's presence. I'll make it multi-tenanted just because like my AD tenant is set slightly weirdly, and Azure and AD are in slightly different places. You're probably all right without this. So redirect URL, I'm going to supply one of these. I'll put it in later actually, once I know what the application ID is. So let's take it out for now. And just go through and do the registration process. Go to API permissions. We need to give this application permissions to read presence. Add permission, Microsoft Graph, delegated permission. Search for presence, presence.read, add the permission. Okay, let's come back up to authentication. I think it's authentication. Wherever it is that you put in the APIs. So it's the redirect URLs. So I'm going to take the client ID because we definitely need that. And I'm just going to come back into the code and do something with it. Yeah, so let's do that now. Get presence from graph. We had to put the client ID in here. And we've got the client ID. I'm also going to use it as the redirect URL, just like that. I know that's not a real URL, but it's something unique that you can use as the redirect URL. So that's kind of helpful. Let's add a redirect URL. And is this the thing I need? I can never really remember. I think it is. Let's try that. As you can tell, like, I'm not all over authentication. And you should bear that in mind when looking at this, because this is kind of also, I forgot to say this at the start actually, this is not the perfect code. It's all over the place. It's a first run. There's no error handling. I'm assuming you're okay with that, but just bear it in mind. I've got a redirect URL in now. So I think we've got an application. It's got the client ID. It's got enough permissions to make the call. I think we might be good. So what we could do now is put a breakpoint on here and run this code. Flip over where we're going. Oh, sorry. What do I do? Set startup project to be this one. And let's just run it and see what happens. Hello again. So something strange happened there. It turns out F10 is not only the step into breakpoint, it also stops Camtasia recording. So I want you to see that whole process again. So, but without me stopping the recording this time. So let's start and let's. So there are mouse things for stepping over and stepping into, aren't there? So let's step over this one and into this one. No. That was not the one I wanted. I wanted to step into, not around or over or something, because now it's exited. Right, so none of that's a good idea. So there's a few things happening here. The first is that this is awaitable, but we're calling it an asynchronous method. So that is no good. So we need to await this task. I'll just wait, rather. And then we'll get the result. So really I should have called that something else, but never mind. Sorry, not that. Result. All right. So let's try that again. Oh, there was something else I wanted to do. Too late. Never mind. I'll do it in a minute. So let's go over this one and let's go into this one. So at this point, if we've done everything right, it should ask us to log in. Maybe it won't. Okay. Maybe it doesn't until we need to use it. I thought it would. Maybe not. Let's try. Let's step into get presence. Authenticate request. Oh, now it does it. So you see this nice pop-up here. in a minute, hopefully. Connect to me. Thinks about it. Ask for permissions the first time round. Get Tom's presence is the name of my app. You can see here the permission set I've asked for. I kept in the kind of default one, and I added this read your presence information, so I can click accept to that. This only happens the first time. Okay, and something has happened that's bad. So what have we got? Original exception. The request body must contain the following parameter: client assertion or client secret. Okay, so a configuration issue is preventing authentication. So somewhere along the line, we've kind of set stuff up wrong, even though the authentication went through absolutely fine. There's something amiss with what we did. I think it's probably something to do with the registration of my app. I definitely jumped through a couple of things that didn't totally make sense. So let's have a look at this app. So the permission set I think was fine. This redirect URL I'm less sure about because this says web. So I'm just going to delete this and click add a platform again and see what our options are. We've got, mobile and desktop applications, Windows, UWP, console. That sounds more like what we're trying to do actually. We've got some redirect URLs we could choose. This one is kind of interesting, MSAL, but I think I'm actually going to put my own one in again, just to be totally sure. And also it's in the code already now, so we might as well, hey. So here you go. So let's take this redirect URL and put it right back where it needs to be. In the custom redirect URL box. Let's configure that. Redirect URLs must have distinct values. Well, I don't know what that means because I'm guessing this would be distinct, right? Maybe I can just add AAAA on the end and make it really distinct. Is this what you're supposed to do? Let's find out. So, okay, if I can save that and it's happy, then I think we might be all good. I'm pretty sure that's not exactly what you're supposed to do. But if anyone knows, let me know. Okay. It has the benefit that, I don't know, well, you'd need to understand this code really, but I think there's a better way of doing it than using the redirect URL, but I know that, I think anyway, the redirect URL works. Let's find out. This is what I meant by not editing the bad stuff out. Okay, let's step into this and step through this and step through this again. It was actually getting the presence where it got interesting. Authenticate again. That's me. Okay, so let's step over this one. So at this point, I think we've probably authenticated okay, and we've made the call, so we can read it back. If we have a look in content, we've got a JSON object to show my presence. That's quite exciting. Availability of available. And so if I can now hopefully serialize that into that object and return it, then result should have this presence object. Perfect. So I've now got my presence in a nice C# object that I can do stuff with. So that's pretty exciting. So let's stop at that point. So next thing we want to do is take this presence information and write it to table storage. What I don't want to do though is write it to table storage all of the time, like every minute. I want to poll every minute, and actually we should get onto that because I need a timer. I want to poll every minute for the presence, but I only want to write to table storage if it's actually changed. So what I'm going to do is just make a couple of local variables here for the latest activity and the latest the latest, what's the activity, and availability. Okay, and what have I done here? Oh. Fine. And I'm going to use that as a kind of way to determine if I need to actually do something. So let's break this apart a little bit. We want to keep the initialization happening first, but now I want a timer. Do I want some kind of this one probably? Yeah, I think so. And what do I want to do with that? So let's have a look. I think this has a elapsed event. Yes, let's do that. Perfect. And so hopefully that's correct. Yeah, perfect. And then let's set the timer on it to be, what's it called? Oh, it's interval, isn't it? Let's do it every minute. Let's enable it. Fine. I'm actually not going to do that. That's not a good idea. Oh, yes, it is. Yeah, it's not a terrible idea. I was just thinking I want it to kind of also run now. So that's fine though, but I can just do presence time elapsed. Fine. We're going to take this and put it down here. And then this is a console app, so otherwise it's just going to stop if I don't put something in like a read line. All right, so we've got a timer that calls presence. We want to get the presence. Let's think, oh, we can do some cool stuff now because actually we can make this asynchronous, I think. Meaning that we can just await this like so, meaning we don't have to do any of this. And once we've got the presence, I just want to check that the activity is different to the latest activity I've got, or the availability is different to the latest availability I've got. And if that's true, then I want to write it to table storage. And once I've written it to table storage, I then want to update these variables for the next time round. Perfect. Let's also write to the console when it changes. So why not? Latest activity and latest availability. So all of that is good. The next thing we need to do is actually take this presence and write it to table storage. Okay, so let's do that as a separate thing. Let's take a class and call it something else. I don't know, table storage, I guess. Okay, so what are we going to do with this class? We're going to use some helpers from NuGet for managing Microsoft Azure table storage. What we don't actually have is any table storage though, so let's solve that problem by going to the right place. Going to Azure, let's go to that resource group we created of the Teams Presence demo, and let's pop in another table store. Can't remember what it's called. Is table storage? Storage table? Storage account. There we go. Okay. Let's call it Teams Presence. Oh, must be lowercase. Teams presence. Review and create. Let's create that. That will give us a connection string that we can use in a moment. Whilst that's going, it's fine, we'll come back here. So we need the NuGet package. Can I remember exactly what it's called? I think it's called Windows Azure Storage, but let's find out. Oh, install package. Windows. There is, I don't know if you know this, if you press tab whilst you're typing the NuGet package stuff, it will try and IntelliSense, but sometimes it can take a little while and you have to try it a few times, but it seems like it leads to do something locally and then it works. It's not going to work for me now. Windows, perhaps you have to type the whole thing in dot. No, it's not going to do it. I think it's Windows Azure dash dot storage. Let's see what it does. Oh yeah, maybe. Well, we'll see what package we get and whether it lines up with what the code I'm expecting to write. It's definitely thinking about it. Whilst that's doing, let's think through what we need here. We are going to need, again, probably some sort of instantiation task method. That's almost certainly going to be asynchronous because everything in Azure is asynchronous. And then we want a method to add presence info, and we're going to pass our presence object that we've got, like so. Right, in the initialization, we want a cloud storage account. So hopefully, yeah, there we go. Cloud storage account. How do you do this? Cloud storage account dot parse the connection string. So you go and get your table storage connection string, and there's different ways of doing this. This is not a great way of doing it, but it does work. Take the whole connection string and provide it here. Now, obviously, you should put this in settings. You should put it in Key Vault. You should do all sorts of things that I'm not doing. I'm just trying to keep this whole run through as short as we possibly can. You then create a Cloud Table client based off that storage account. And this is a really nice SDK, by the way, for making this kind of stuff super easy. Cloud Table client, we need a table that we want to use across both. We want to use across both methods. So for the purposes of this, I'm just going to stick it up here. Call it table. Now we create it using the table client by getting a reference to the table, and I'm just going to call mine presence. That's literally the name of the table in the storage account that it's going to create and then use. And there's a handy creative not exists, so I don't even have to go and create it. It will go and create it for me, which is kind of nice. And then the next time round, it won't error that I'm trying to create it if it's already there. So just creative not exists is kind of a nice little shortcut. So we're going to run that once, and then each time we are going to add the presence info in. So what does that look like? So what does it look like? It looks like a table operation for inserting. Table operation dot insert. We're just going to insert the whole presence info. It's a nice kind of clean object. It will go straight into table storage just fine, I think. And then when we get it out the other side on the Bot Framework side, we can just deserialize it into the same class and it'll be fine. So we can execute that. So that's super easy, like so. This is moaning. Okay, so it's moaning that it can't convert the presence info into a table entity, and that's true because you can only store stuff in table storage that inherits from table entity. So we need to go and sort that out by making this inherit from table entity. When we do that, however, we are going to need to provide a partition key and a row key for that to happen, so that it can go into table storage. Okay, so now we've done that, we get, yeah. So what's happened is that by inheriting from table entity, as well as the things that we added in our class, we also have partition key, row key, timestamp, e-tag, a few other things. So we should set the partition key. So I talked about this a little bit in the blog. I only really care about today's presence information when I'm getting it on the bot side, because I definitely don't want to go back in time. I want to know what the latest presence for today is, and also kind of the presence a bit before it as well, so I can say how long I've been in a set presence type for. So what I'm going to do is take the date time, turn it into UTC now. I want something that's going to be consistent on both sides, both my local code and running in Azure, which might be in a completely different region. So I'm going to take the UCT time, convert it to date, and then convert it to the, I think, ISO, I want to say. Anyway, some kind of consistent format. Row key I don't really care about, if I'm honest, so I'm just going to turn it into a GUID to make sure it's unique. Alright, so we've got something there now that should hopefully write to table storage. Because I'm using these weird initializers, I'm just making my life a bit more complicated, well, easier I suppose in the long run, but what I'm going to do is create the table storage object up here back in the main program, which gives me a chance to initialize it down here, which I know is cheating, but it works. Cool, that just means everything gets set up before. Ooh, that is awaitable, isn't it? Let's just put a wait on that then. I don't really care about the result. It just means that in here everything is all set up and ready to go by the time we need it. So this is already asynchronous, which is nice. So all we really need to add to this is table storage, add presence info. All right. So let's put a breakpoint on here and run this whole thing again. It should set up a timer. It should kick off the timer almost straight away. It should go and get the presence. It should be different because these values will be null. Oh, activity, availability, caught a bug. There we go. That was close. These values will be null, so we should get here fairly quickly. Let's find out. Go through the auth process again. You only do this every time you do that initialize. You don't do it every time the code runs and needs it. So it's literally like the first time this runs, and then it'll be fine on all the subsequent runs. Okay, perfect. So we've got the presence activity. It's available still. And we're ready to go with this. So let's F10 through this. Oh, I guess it's worked actually if I F10 through it. We can set that, we can set that, we can do the console write line, go continue, and we write it out, and we're good to go. This is now running on a 60-second timer. If the presence changes at all, and I'll change my presence in a minute so we can see it happening, it's going to update the table storage and update here, and this side of things is pretty much done. I could run this all day now. It will just keep track of my presence and it's writing it to table storage. So that bit is all good and done. So let's go back to our bot, because we wanted to make some changes to it, because right now it's just an echo bot and that's not doing a whole lot of interesting stuff apart from just echoing back the stuff that I was kind of saying. So it's doing this hello and welcome thing. I'm going to get rid of that because I don't like it. I don't like it. We don't need it. So let's take that bit away, and let's instead have a think about what we want to do here. So this is going to be the case where somebody comes in and says, tell me what the presence is. So tell me what Tom's presence is. So what do we need to do? We're going to need a table storage thing on this side as well. It's going to look kind of similar. And I could probably share the code if I could be bothered, but I think I'm just going to create the whole thing again because it's quicker. So let's just make some things that we need. So we're going to need a table storage class. Let's create one of those. And we are going to call the table storage class. We're going to call, let's do a couple of things here. Let's do let's think about this. We want probably initialize here as well. And should be asynchronous. And we will want some kind of get today's presence, something like that, that's going to return a presence object. So let's do that. We don't have a presence object in this project either, so let's solve that in a minute. So many things. Presence, and I can't type. Get today's presence info. That's going to do some stuff. Let's go and make a presence info object. Again, probably should share this across the two classes, but I'm just going to throw it in because it's easier. Let's go and take this from over here and put it in here. Okay, it's going to moan because it doesn't know what table entity is, and that's actually because this whole project also will need the Azure storage stuff. So let's add that in now. Okay, that was quick. So that means that I can now add this in here. Perfect. So this table storage we can build out a little bit now as well, because it's going to be really similar from the one before in terms of the initialization side of things. The whole layout is going to be really similar, and in fact I might just go here and steal some of this stuff. So all of this is going to be pretty much the same. I think I could probably not do the creative not exists if I'm honest, because I'm pretty confident it is going to exist if the desktop thing is running all the time. So let's fix these up. Let's fix this up. I am going to take that out because it's the one thing that makes that whole thing asynchronous. So, it doesn't really matter, does it? I suppose. Whatever. We've got a thing called get today's presence info. What does that need to do? So that's going to be slightly different this time because we're not writing. We actually need to query. What I'm going to do is try and keep some consistency. I'm going to have this return all of the presence info items for today. So like an array of different presence info items, rather than try to have it work out exactly what it should be doing with them. Just return everything for today. And by today, I mean matching on that partition key that I spoke about before. So let's quickly do that now. So I'm going to want a query of presence info. New table query presence info. I'm going to use the lambda of where table query filter condition, generate filter condition, partition key equals. What goes here? It's a query. Help me out. It's a query comparison. Thank you. Equals, and it wants to equal the partition key, which I said was date time UTC now date to string ISO. Cool. So do that. What are you going to do with that? So there is a chance that this is going to return paged results. So what do I mean by that? So let's say there was loads of present changes. So by the end of the day, there's like 100 or 200. The table storage call won't necessarily return all of them in one go. It will return a page of results and have you scroll through different pages until you're done. That just stops it sending loads and loads of really chunky data. And also you might not care about that many results, or you might not even know that so many were coming. So you can use a continuation token to help you get through that, because in each page of results that comes back, you get a continuation token to carry on kind of from where you left off. So let's do something with that. Let's create the continuation token. Let's create the thing that we're going to store our entities in, which is a list of presence info. And then let's have a classic do while loop. So let's take the results of executing the query, segmented query, of a new query, new table query. You basically have to make one every time based on the token. So the token has enough in it to like be the whole query, if that makes sense. So you pass it as a new query, like that. And then you take the result and you add it to your local copy. Query results. And then you got to reset the token because there might be more. Query result dot continuation token, and you keep doing that until the token comes back null, because if the token comes back null, then you're done. So you set it null first. What am I missing? Fine. So I'm just parsing this to see if this all makes sense. And I think it does. New table query. Well, I think I'm missing something and I'm trying to figure out what. I think it's probably I'm not running it for the first time. So actually what's going to happen is this is not going to get run. Oh no, it should do. Table query. So I've got my table continuation token here. What I think I need to do is either run this or not use this. But if I'm going to not use this, I need to put the where down here. And pass it along with the token. Does that seem fair? Does that seem like it might work? Oh no, now what have I done? Oh. Are we done now? No overloaded method for where takes 2 arguments. Well, this one did. Maybe it didn't. Maybe I didn't do a very good job of copying that where. Hang on. Let's figure this out. So that is the whole where, isn't it? Because there's no, yeah, fine. Let's just take all of this down to here. Perhaps there's just another, another. Okay, fine. Brackets everywhere. Okay, so I think this is the right thing to do now. So as in not do this. Set the continuation token to null. Execute what you want. Pass the token. See what the token is. And keep going using the token until the token's empty. And when you've done all of that, then you've finished. So you should return your built up entities. That might work. I don't really know. but still, this is just going to be a list of today's entities. It's not actually going to be perfect. So let's come back to our echo bot because there's quite a bit of work to do here in kind of figuring out what to do with that. So one thing I'm not going to do is parse the input. So whatever you tell this bot, it's always going to go and get your presence. That just keeps this code a little bit easier. It's obviously not the right thing to do, but this is a kind of like does one thing type of bot. So for now, I figure it's probably okay. So let's let's do that initialize. It wouldn't, like, really, I should probably do this somewhere else in the code and not every time a message gets sent. That's not ideal. And I might refactor that later, but for now, I think it's probably okay. Like, it's not going to cause a problem. I can now do get today's presence info. That gives me a list of different presences. So that's good. What I want to do though is turn that into some kind of response. So that's going to be a bit gnarly, I think. So I'm just going to put it out to a private method. Turn presence info list into response. I'm going to pass that list of presence infos like so. Right, so this is fun. So let's get the current presence right now. So looking at that list, the current presence is going to be ordering it. Oh, yay. Why can't I order? Whoops. Using link? Is that what you're supposed to type now? System.link, maybe. Is that right? Okay, let's try it. Yeah. So order by descending on the timestamp and get the first one. So that's my current presence. What I want to do is say, like, Tom's available, Tom's in a call or whatever, and has been for X number of minutes. So what I want to get is the next state that's not this one. The earliest state that is not the state that this one is. So like the next discrete state. So that is from a list where the activity is not the same as the current presence activity, because availability can stay the same. Activity is the thing that's like way more detailed than availability. So I'm using that. So let's order that by the timestamp. I think this is the right thing to do. And get the first one, and I guess might be blank. And then, having got that one, I need to know, what do I need to know? The earliest similar state. So what is that? So how long I've been in the current state. So where it is the same as the current state, but it's older than the next previous state. So how long have I been available is look at the one I was before when I was available, and then figure out what the earliest once I've become available is. Does that make sense? I think so. Let's try. Earliest similar state is from that list. It's where p dot activity is the same as the current activity, but the timestamp is later than the next discrete state's activity, timestamp. And you want the earliest one of those. That way, if it was like busy, available, which shouldn't happen because I shouldn't be doing that in the desktop code. But if you quit the app and start it and quit and start and quit and start, it is going to look like that. So what I'm trying to do is like go back to the inner call bit and then get the earliest available after that. And then that's how long it's been going on for. I think that's right. Okay, and let's get the first one of those. All right, who knows what that's going to come up with? Fine. So the whole purpose of this is to give a nicely formatted Tom is available, and he has been for 25 minutes. So let's do that with a string builder. Let's append some stuff. We've got the enum of a presence activity, but that's not great. So what do I mean by that? So let's come back all the way to here. So this was our API call. Somewhere on this page, it tells you a presence object. So it tells you the structure of the object that's being returned, this presence resource type, and it tells you all the different things you could have. So this is like an activity. This tells you all the different things you could have. This is what I want to go through because this is not helpful to like put out by text because you basically need to convert these into English. So what I need to do is just have like a switch statement that looks at the activity and turns it into something a bit more meaningful. So let's have one of those. So convert activity is what I'm going to call it. I haven't written this yet, obviously. Current presence activity. And then let's put a full stop after it. So right now Tom is available, full stop. Let's do something with that then. So let's have that method. And this is basically just going to be a switch statement for activity. And it's going to take ages to type this. So I'm going to speed up this bit because you don't want to watch me typing all this, really. Okay, so big old switch statement there for converting activity. And fine, and so let's return this as a string. So then we can use this up here. So now that we've got the info, we're going to replace this this bit here. I'm going to get rid of that and instead have a reply text, which is turn presence info into response, like so. So now, every time we send a message, we're going to set up our table storage. We're going to go and get the presence info from that table storage. We are then going to turn it into a response by doing some stuff. We're not actually using a lot of this yet, apart from the current presence activity stuff, but I just want to make sure some of this stuff works first anyway, before I delve into this, because this feels like it could break. Let's get the current activity and throw it onto the screen. So if I flip the project back to being the EchoBot as the startup project and run, and there were errors. Why were there errors? EchoBot is a namespace but is used like a type. Okay, so I've named a thing called EchoBot here, and I've got a class called EchoBot which came with the sample, but because the whole project is called EchoBot, because I created a new table storage item here, it's inherited the table storage name of EchoBot, and now everyone's confused. So I'm just going to take the namespace that they had in the sample and use that instead, because why not? And that's probably going to be the case for presence info as well. And did I make anything else? Let's see if that builds. Well, you can go now. Okay. That seems happier. Okay, so once this is running, I can flip over to the emulator again, restart the conversation, click hello. Oh no! And something terrible went wrong. So, what went wrong? Can we tell from this massive thing? Turn presence info list info response. I've misspelled that, but I don't think that's the problem. Oh, sequence contains no elements, so nothing in the table storage. Okay, so there's possibly a problem writing to the table storage, maybe, that I didn't catch the first time around. What I can do is look in the table storage. So let's go and do that now. So we have something called Azure Storage Explorer. So let me flip over to this again. So this is the table storage, and these are the keys. So I can take this connection string. In Azure Table Storage Explorer, Azure Storage Explorer, sorry, I can directly connect to the table, and I can see exactly what's going on, whether or not anything's being written to it or not. So let's do that now. So I can use a connection string. And Tom, what's it called? Teams presence demo. Put the connection string in there. Teams presence, create team demo. Teams presence demo. Boop, 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 boop. Tables. Presence. There's a table called presence. That's exciting. And there's a value in there as well that is activity and availability. So I'm going to hazard a guess that the thing that went wrong, is the messing around I did with, I'm not going to be able to find it now, the messing around I did with this stuff here. Because when there's only a single value in there, some of this might get a bit messed up, especially the earlier similar state stuff. So I might just ignore it for now. Let's see if that fixes the problem. If not, we'll put some breakpoints in and we'll kind of go from there. But that was definitely the good first check to find out actually are we writing anything to table storage at all, because I never checked that. I just kind of assumed it worked, which was probably a bit naive. But it turns out it did work, so that's good. So let's try again. Still doesn't work. Okay, so I think it's probably time for some breakpoints. So let's put one in here. Well, let's put one up here first and make sure that we're getting presence info okay. And then we'll put one down here for turning the presence info into an actual English response. So let's try now. So we've got, so we've got an info object that's got nothing in it. So that's definitely a cause for concern and explains why nothing else works. So let's hop back up to here and step into this one. Okay, so maybe the way I did this was not quite correct. Oh, look, that's not right. Look at that. How did I end up with a closing bracket there? The effect that's going to have is mucking up the toString, meaning that the comparison of the partition key is not going to be right and it's not going to bring back the data we expect it to. I don't know whether that's the only thing that's wrong, but that's definitely wrong. So let's fix that and restart and check our breakpoints again. Your bot is ready. Let's carry on through this for now. Just to see where we get to. Well, take it to null. And now we have a single entity, which is good. So maybe that was all it was. How exciting. We've got that info object. Oh, sorry, there it is now. It's got some stuff in it. Yeah, activity and availability. Let's run through this now. We'll keep those commented because we're not using them. We've got a convert activity thing. We've got a string. We've got a reply text, hopefully, like that. Right now, Tom is in an unknown state. Oh, that's unfortunate because I don't think I am. I think I'm available. Why does it think that? So let's have a look. The activity is available, but the switch statement fell out completely, I think. So we're passing available as the current presence activity. Wait, what's this? This isn't even a thing. This should be presence info.activity. I'm not sure what. Oh no, sorry. I'd forgotten about this bit. All right, so what we're going to do is do another breakpoint. Right, let's restart this conversation. Right. Do another breakpoint. This bit's fine. Getting the info bit is fine. Converting it is not fine because we've got something that's got an activity of available and this doesn't seem happy. So let's get the first one ordered by so that should still be available. So what an idiot. I wrote activity instead of available for the very first. I wonder how many others I've got wrong. Well, they look alright actually. Maybe it's just this one. So all these problems are just me being an idiot. Right, fine. So I'm confident now. I'm going to take all the breakpoints off. I'm going to restart this code. I'm going to let it run. I'm going to restart the conversation. I'm going to say hi. Right now, Tom is free. Hooray. Good. So that works. So that is getting the information from table storage and presenting it in the bot framework. We can prove this works by stopping this, changing my presence to something else, busy. I forgot to keep this one running, so let's just start a new instance of this now. And it's going to pick up the busy one rather than the available one. Take all the breakpoints off. Right, busy. So now, if I what I want to do, I thought I'd done. What an idiot! What I want to do is break out. So detach that, keep that running. Flip back over to the Echo bot, run that as well. And you don't have to do this. Like, you could just take the deployed from the bin file and run it. I'm just trying to show you that now if I say hi, right now Tom is busy. Super duper. So let's do a few more things. In our table storage, we now have a busy and an available. All of that means actually the code that I uncommented about figuring out the times of things might just work now. And maybe would have worked before, but whatever. Not that one. That can go. We're not using that. This one. Let's try these as well. How are we going to use those? What we want to do is, so this next discrete state could be empty. But if it's not, then we need to figure out the time between now and the earliest similar state. So if you're busy, how long have you been busy for? What's the earliest you've been busy before you were something else? So what does that look like? It looks like taking UTC now, and subtracting it from that earliest similar state, the timestamp of it, sorry, and that's a date time offset. So I think you can take it to yes, you can turn it into a UTC date time. This is a time span, so we want to do total minutes, not minutes, total minutes, because otherwise if you flip over the hour, you start getting like, it goes back to 0. Super confusing. So that's the length in minutes that I've been in that state. So I can do, I can do some string builder appending to say he has been like this for, and then I want the length to string. Whoops. For 27 minutes. Let's try that. You still having fun? Good. Let's try this. Okay. Well, it works. Right now, Tom is busy. He's been like this for 3.400, like a crazy accurate number that's not very readable, but that's okay. We can make, probably the easiest thing to do is in this toString cast, just stick in a no decimal places, please. Oops. A no decimal places, please. That's what I think the NO stands for anyway. I think it's number 0, but whatever. No decimal places, please. And let's try that again. And if that works, I think we're in a really good place. Perfect. Now that could be read out by a lady in a tube, right? That is ready to go, and we can layer on the Amazon stuff at this point. So that's pretty exciting. Yeah, there's a load I would change about that code, but functionally that works. I can change my presence. I've still got this desktop thing running actually, so let me change my presence around again. Let's go to appear away. Now, don't forget this polls every minute, so it's not going to be an instant change, but we'll come back to it in a minute and we'll see that it's changed. Next up, so at this point, big pause, what have we done? We've got a desktop app that gets our presence and writes it to table storage. And we have a bot that reads that table storage and converts it into some nice text with some times and stuff that makes it kind of human readable. So that's all pretty exciting. What do we need to do next? So the next thing to do is to add in the Alexa stuff. Oh, sorry, I triggered my lady again. That is documented really nicely actually on the BotBuilder community page. So I'll put a link in for this, but let me just show you this site, the BotBuilder.net community page, and the GitHub repository, and the Alexa adapter for BotBuilder. So come down here, there's a load of installation advice. So there's a NuGet package to put in, and there's a whole bunch of instructions on exactly what it is you need to do to make this work. We are going to step through these instructions line by line by line, because I'm out of my comfort zone in doing this stuff, and so I'm going to be kind of blindly following the instructions. But that's kind of good, I think, because I think they're really good. I think the instructions work really well. I don't think there's a problem with them. I'm going to do one more thing before I start down this road though, just to kind of preserve sanity, and I think this is a good thing to do as well. So publish what you've got so far. Existing one, not creating a new one. So let's do that. Teams presence demo, okie dokie. Publish. Okay, whilst that's publishing, just a quick sip of water. is a monster video, but I hope it's useful. So I think it's finished. I think it's done. We can try it out now by, what do we need to do? We need to go back to our resource group and find our bot and do testing web chat. Send it a message. Perfect. All right. It's picked up the away status as well. We've been like that for 4 minutes. Good. So we're ready to layer on some of this Amazon stuff. So first thing we should do is pick up the what am I trying to say? First thing we should do is pick up these instructions. So let's pop these over here and let's take our code and pop it up here. Right, so I know there's not a lot of screen estate now, but we'll move things out of the way as we need them, I think. Right, you go away, let's make some more space. Okay. So first up, we need to install this package. Fine, let's copy paste. Install the package, go. Doop, 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 doop. Now we need to log into the Alexa developer console. Right, we can do that. Doop, doop, doop. Let's put this up here as well. Okay. Okie dokie. So log into the Alexa developer console and click the create skill button. On the next screen, enter a name for your bot, or team's presence, let's call it that. You can choose a model. So we want to do custom, apparently, and then we want to choose provision your own for the back end stuff. And click create. I think that's right. Maybe we make English. Can we do real English? Yeah. That's to provision your own. Click create skill. You'll be asked to choose a template. Choose start from scratch, and click choose. You'll be presented with your skills dashboard. I don't know what I'm doing here, but let's go navigate to the JSON editor. Yeah, we can do that. Paste the JSON below into the JSON editor. Replacing the following values. Your skill invocation name. This is the name that users will say to invoke your skill. Oh, okay. So, all right, let's do this. So we're going to call this presence helper. So let's call it presence helper, like that. And then example phrases. So ask presence helper what Tom is doing. Ask presence helper if Tom is free. And something else. Oof, what is going on with my computer? And ask presence helper what Tom is doing. Well, let's say if Tom is busy. Right, there we go. Those are 3 skills. We could 3 examples. Okay, click save model and build model. Doop, doop, doop. Invocation must start with a letter and can only contain lower. Oh, right, okay. Doop, 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 doop. Doop, doop, doop. Let's try that. Save model, build model. Perfect. Okay, so I'm just checking. The thing that we installed up here is the same as this one. So we've done this step, so that's good. So create a Alexa adapter class. I'm going to leave this for now. Let's get this out of the way and bring this back. So create a Alexa adapter class that inherits from the Alexa adapter. Okay, so create a new class. I can do that. With error handler, and take this code and pop it in there, and seems happy enough. Oh, maybe. Okay, some stuff to add. Okay. Oh, it told me what I need to add. Oh, I did it anyway. Fine. What's next? You need to create a new controller. That makes sense. Okay, to handle requests on a new endpoint. Oh, spelling. API / instead of the default API messages. Okay, that makes sense. Blah, blah, blah. You can accept requests from the bot service channels as well as from there using the same bot. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm going to do it in controllers. I'm going to create a new class. Like so. I'm going to add these usings at the top. I'm going to copy all of this stuff with the root on it already, which is nice. Boop, 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 boop. Two, fine. Okay. And then inject the adapter into your bot's startup. So where's the startup? So there's a startup.cs. Oh, it's moaning about this thing again. Okay, so I'm going to have the same problem I had before where my namespaces are a bit messed up. So I'm just going to steal the same namespace again. And there was another one somewhere. This one. Fine. Oh. I kind of want it to be the same as this one, really. Let's use that one instead. And then this one is controllers. So let's keep consistency there. Right. Startup. Add something into your startup. I guess it's this one, and it goes in between this one around the default, which is this one here, and the one about creating a bot as transient. So pop that in there. You will also need to add this into the top. Okay. And complete configuration of your skill. So deploy. So let's deploy again. Push. And make a note of the URL. Okay, so when you publish, there's a couple of different ways of getting this, aren't there? So here it is. It goes here. It also opens up in the web page. There's a few different ways to get it. So back within your skill dashboard, let's bring that back up here. Navigate to the endpoint section on the left-hand menu. Oh, here. Okay. Select HTTPS as the service endpoint type. Go away, go away, go away. And set the default region, oh here, to be that thing /API/Alexa. I'm going to make it HTTPS as well.
Are you trying to shop for radio?
Oh, no. I'm going to turn this off.
All right.
It's getting annoying. Although we might use it in a minute. That would be amazing. Sorry, in the drop-down underneath, choose what? My development endpoint is a subdomain of a domain that has what? Oh, so subdomain of a domain that has a wildcard certificate from a certificate authority. Fine. Do that. And click save. And apparently you can now test. So in the skills dashboard, go to test. you'll see tested scale. Oh yeah. Okay. As a basic test, so I think I can type in here and say ask presence helper. Now, the stuff you type after this point, so the presence helper bit invokes this bot, this skill in Alexa. The bit you type after it, the whole thing goes to Bot Framework, so you can parse it and do whatever you want with it. I'm not actually doing anything with that, as you have seen. So actually I could put whatever I wanted in here. So I can say kind of what Tom is doing. I can type a load of stuff in here. It kind of doesn't matter. And we'll see what happens. Amazing. Look at that. Look at that. That works, just like straight up works. So dropping that Alexa stuff into the Bot Framework code, going here into the console, couple of clicks. This is awesome. Now, because I'm signed into a device right next to me that actually is on the same account that this dashboard is, I think I should be able to do this. Alexa, ask presence helper what Tom is doing.
Right now, Tom is away from his computer. He has been like this for 15 minutes.
How cool is that? That's pretty amazing. So, in whatever the time it's been, an hour and a half maybe, something like that, we have gone from nothing. We have created a .NET application that will take our presence every minute, write it to table storage. We're exposing it using the Bot Framework, and then we've layered on Alexa skills on that as well. So anywhere in my house, anybody can ask me or can ask Alexa what I'm doing and get my team's present status. That's pretty cool. All right, all of the code for this is in GitHub. There's a blog post that write up about it as well that explains some of the design decisions. I hope you found this kind of long, from nothing, warts and all walkthrough useful. If you have, let me know and I'll do more like this. But yeah, loads more videos at thoughtstuff.co.uk/videos. Follow me on Twitter, ask me any questions you have. Would love your feedback. But thanks very, very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.